a domino effect to try to clot. And our body naturally is going to put in some antithrombotic control mechanisms. So it's going to try to control not too much, not too little. Now, from those platelets, those single platelets that are all hanging out, once they're activated, they start mixing with things like von Willebrand factor, VWF, fibrinogen, and it makes these platelet plugs, right? Starts clotting everything up. And with that cascade system that's been going on, that started the dominoes a little bit to the right, on the other side of the double arrow, you have thrombin. And thrombin changes fibrinogen into the fibrin fibers. And again, when you have the platelet plug plus the fibrin, that's what all comes together in clumps, and that makes your blood clot, right? So once you have a blood clot, hopefully the bleeding is stopped. But what the body is naturally going to do is the blood clot is going to act with plasmin, as I just talked about, and it's the plasmin that breaks things up. So that's why it's called fibrinolysis, right? So lysis breaks down the fibrin and therefore breaks down the clot. And how did I say the plasmin even comes into play? Well, plasmin is just an activated form of plasminogen. Now you can see here, basically the enzymes are proteins that say yay or nay for plasminogen to change to plasmin is TPA, your clot busting, right? So it's saying, hey, go ahead, turn into plasmin, start breaking down that clot, right? It's Drano for the blood work, basically. But TXA stops that from happening. So hopefully stops the breakdown. And this is why you can have accidental major bleeding with TPA. And this is not necessarily making a clot, but it's helping keep the clots for TXA. So again, any moderate to major blood loss where the blood is not staying where it should be, right? I have a major scalp laceration. I have a junctional issue. I have hemoptysis, major oral bleeding that really will not stop, right? I can apply topically, give it IV or IO. This is not the kind of thing where, oh, hey, doc, I've got, a bad junctional bleed. I'm putting direct pressure on it. I want to make a form of quick clot. No, right? You need to directly control that hemorrhaging with tourniquets, direct pressure with or without quick clot, junctional tourniquets. That's direct pressure. You have not got time to put TXA on it. That's not what this is, all right? So it's for essentially mucosal bleeding or major bleeding, where we're going to give it IV or IO. So the dose again is 2 grams IV or IO. You'll only see that hypotension if you push it really fast. So if you're giving 2 grams quicker than 30 seconds, that's too fast. But if you treat it just like our cardizem and other stuff, it's going to be good. Here's where my concern is, and I don't care if it's a slow IV push or if it's in a drip, but if you put it in a drip, sure, that frees up your hands, but if somebody puts it down, it might not be actually getting into the body, right? So you need to make sure that it's actually administered. And this is after other major exsanguination controls like direct pressure, tourniquets, etc. So we'll likely, depending on, and it is over the counter in some of the departments, carrying quick clot. I personally, I do carry it. But direct pressure actually takes care of a lot of bleeding. In fact, including that's your arterial bleeding can actually take care of it. But you're not going to make quick clot to use pressure for this. That's not what TXA's use is. Postpartum hemorrhage, one of the biggest killers of women and their babies, usually the women because they've already delivered the baby. And globally, TXA has been a game changer. Now let's talk about and re-review ketamine. Remember that there's a couple of doses with it, and we are carrying 2 forms. Number 1, we have high concentration, which might be 100 milligrams per milliliter or might be 50 milligrams per milliliter. This is the one that's used for full dissociation. This is for procedures, for hyperactive syndromes and things like that, and it comes in a vial. Note what the concentration is, because things can always change, especially with all these shortages and things like that. We also have a pre-filled syringe that's already